Hi, I'm Brock Yates. You know, I spend a lot of time on racetracks of one kind and another. Today, this one's deserted, except for a single car and a single driver involved in a special test session. I think it's a pretty good place to begin to tell their story, because they're a pretty special pair. In fact, I think you could call them two of a kind.
Two of a Kind, the Trans Am Champions, is brought to you by MG and Triumph Sports Cars and Quaker State Oil.
He's been at it nearly 2 decades now, this race driver named Bob Tullius. But his passion for victory is as strong as ever. He's raced many kinds of cars on a multitude of tracks, but his special challenge lies within the unique brand of North American competition called the Trans Am. This is a series of road racing events intended to bring American-made sporting machinery like Corvettes and Camaros into competition with European GT cars like Porsches and Jaguars. It's a series with a long and dramatic history, including such heroic names as Mark Donohue, Dan Gurney, Peter Revson, and Parnelli Jones, as well as the man who won at Sebring in the spring of 1966, the first Trans Am ever, Bob Tullius.
The trophy's nice, but Bob, the money's a little nicer, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it sure is. Amateur racing, but you know one thing about amateur racing is that if you fail, all you lose is a trophy. When you fail in pro racing, you lose a lot of money, and everybody can use that, can't we?
Let's hear it for Bob Tullius, Group 44.
Tullius is a winner, an established star, but he carries the scars of a hectic youth. Ironically, they did not come on a racetrack.
Does the leg bother you?
Not at all, Brock. Some of my competitors think it's my big speed secret.
Got some extra lead in there or something?
Yeah, something along those lines.
It's ironic, 18 years of racing, and as I understand it, you hurt the leg twice away from a racetrack.
Playing football. I had a budding professional football career a number of years ago and was being looked at by the Colts. And then in Bangkok, Thailand, got run over by a taxi cab, no less. So it's had its troubles, but it doesn't slow me down much. I started out doing the drag race scene in the country road just like all the rest of us did, I think, Brock. And one night, a buddy of mine were leaving a signal light that was just close to my home, and we had to pass by my mother's window. She never had seen me race before or since, actually. But she was one of these mothers that never went to sleep until all the brood was at home, and she was lying awake reading. And we went by the window flat out in second gear and giving it all we could. And in those days, it was flex tubing and straight pipes. And the next morning, it was very quiet at breakfast until she finally couldn't stand it any longer, and she said, "Who won?" Who did I get that from, though?
Your father.
Of course. She used to say my father had a gasoline fanny. You could hear him all over, 20 miles away coming with his 32 Essex with no muffler on it.
Racing is no rich man's hobby for him. This is a profession, full-time, 7 days a week.
Group 44. Hello, Mike Dale. How are you?
His shop, in a small Virginia town, is a classic racing operation, surgically clean, self-contained, completely equipped and manned by professionals like himself.
Bob, as I understand, it started in 1961. Where, how, what kind of a car?
It was a Triumph TR3 in the driveway of my house in Alexandria, Virginia, Brock, and it's come a long way since then.
When did you really start to get serious about motor racing?
Brian Firstenau and I met each other in 1963, and though I had been serious about it for a couple of years before that, he sort of accelerated that process, and then when Lanky Fouché came along a little later, we developed the nucleus of what is now Group 44, and we're very proud and very pleased about it.
Like all successful racing operations, Tullius Group 44 team spends a great deal of time in private test sessions. Tullius contends his team has the skill to make a winner out of almost any type car, which he has successfully done with his XJ-S, a coupe that gives away several hundred pounds of weight and over 100 cubic inches of engine displacement to much of its competition. Lap after lap unwinds. Chassis and engine adjustments are made. Speeds increase. Like a thoroughbred horse, the car is being exercised to a state of total readiness for the next race. Before the day ends, the car will make a few more laps under the somewhat uncertain control of a completely new driver.
If you can look over there on your right, you'll see a whole bunch of switches, half of which I'm not sure what they are, but the three on the right are essential.
Okay.
The first one is the fuel, the second one is...
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second one is the diff pump, and the third one is the water cooling for the brakes.
Okay.
You won't really need the water cooling for the brakes, but the other two might be of some value too. Pedals are in the standard places. Right's go, left is clutch, and stop in the middle.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Thank you very much. If I crash, I'm going to remember that.
Okay. You want your hat? Okay, you got your hat. I know you've driven some Trans Am cars in your time. In fact, I saw you coming somewhere out of MIS, out of a big mud puddle with the pollywogs dangling out of your ears.
Mud, yeah. One of my better moments.
But you'll be surprised. It's too bad that we don't have the time for you to take it out and really wring it out, get used to it, and get a good feel of it, because you probably, you'd be excited about it.
Super piece.
But give it a whirl, hey?
What pressure should read what?
Oh, it'll be all right.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Up on the chrome one.
Although my racing days have long since been over, I competed against Tullius in the early years of the Trans Am. Perhaps that's why he's given me special dispensation to drive his machine, a machine that he has firmly warned will take thousands of man-hours and perhaps $100,000 to replace should I crash it. This is more like a very fast and stable highway car than a full-blown competition automobile. It's suspiciously smooth. It lacks the fierceness, the brutality, the unforgiving nature of most cars of this type. The urge is to go faster, but Tullius' reminder of the cost of an accident is enough to keep my speed at prudent levels. The Road America track at Elkhart Lake, which meanders over the rolling hills of Wisconsin, is one of the oldest venues for road racing in the United States. At 4 miles, it is also one of the most difficult and demanding circuits in America. This race, the 8th of the Trans Am schedule, sees Tullius seeking his 5th victory in a row in an effort to repeat as Category 1 champion. As usual, Tullius' competition comes in the form of hordes of Corvettes. In fact, of the 64 competitors he will face during the course of this season, over half will be Corvettes.
I feel faster now than I did when I was younger. That may be a rationalization, but in the Trans Am series this year, I raced against a lot of younger guys, and I don't think my car's anywhere near as fast as some of those guys that I ran against.
Bob's a great racer. He gets the element out of a car as well. He has an analytical mind in the car, and he's constantly thinking all the while, which is a great attribute as a driver.
Group 44 is as fine as you're going to find in the country, and I don't care if it's on the level of USAC or Can-Am, or I think that crew could probably go to Europe and handle a Formula One effort.
I'm sure that if I had a problem, even though they don't carry Corvette spares, but if I had a problem that Lanky could help, I'm sure they'd be right here in the pits with their equipment helping me out. I just know that from running with them and pitting with them.
He's not the fastest in qualifying and starts behind some Category 1 Corvettes as well as some of the faster, more extensively modified Category 2 cars. Despite his poor starting position, Tullius quickly makes up ground, driving with the smoothness and precision that has become his trademark. He takes the lead and opens a wide gap over the second-place car.
They're two of a kind, two against the rest. They're working, driving, running hard, 'cause they're two of the best. They're some kind of team, that man and machine. They're two of a kind, two of a kind. They're some kind of racing team. They're some kind of racing man and machine. They're two of a kind. They're two of a kind.
He wins the Category 1 race by over a minute. The victory clinches his second consecutive Trans Am driving championship. Moreover, it places him in an excellent position to collect for the first time the manufacturer's championship for Jaguar.
This is the best lap of the race because you get a chance to look at all the pretty girls and wave at all the corner workers, many of which I know.
Bob, you're like a machine. You just keep clicking it off, steady as a rock.
Well, you never win the race in the first lap, and you know that qualifying thing is just a battle. We just concluded the war, and the results stand.
You got the championship 2 years running now locked up. Going to tell us about next year? You going to come back and do it again?
Well, that's hard to say. You know, the bosses tell us what to do in that regard, and we'd like to come back. The Trans Am is a great series, absolutely great series. It's the best GT series going in the world, and with just a little polishing of rough edges, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Martin, we can have by far the greatest road racing series that ever walked on this earth.
Bob Tullius, again, congratulations. You won the race, you won the championship.
Bob, you said a couple of days ago that this may be the best season of them all. Was that an idle remark, or do you really mean that?
Not really. I really mean it. Mostly because, Brock, as you're aware, we've known each other a long time. Group 44 has been primarily known as a club racing organization, and to have come into the Trans Am series as pros, making that transition and winning it 2 years in succession makes it a very proud moment in my life and for my people as well.
Well, Bob, what about this one against the many aspect of this season? You're the one Jaguar driver against a whole raft of Corvettes. The car has a little bit smaller engine, and it must be a pretty interesting challenge to face all that horsepower every week.
Well, competition's a thing, Brock, and when you're one against hordes like that, it adds a great deal of flavor to it. And to have been successful in this Trans Am series 2 years in succession is a very comfortable thought. My guys, Brian Furstenau and Lanky Fouché, are real racers, and give them a car like the Jaguar and with its basic heritage of race winning, and there's a winning combination for sure. If you drive fast, and I'm sure you will, sooner or later.
When he's on stage, operating as a public person, Tullius radiates an apple pie all-Americanism that is almost overwhelming. However, in his private moments, he can be as contentious as the toughest driver in the business.
What the hell's going on here, anyhow?
Bring it right around over here.
Are they running the first 10 places get to stand in the victory circle?
They didn't even get up. Nobody else got up there yet except the 2 second-place cars.
What the hell are they doing up there?
All first three up there.
That's dumb.
There are very few frills in Bob Tullius' life. Even his airplane is a tool. He uses it constantly for business appointments and personal appearances, and it carries the crew to races even when it involves a transcontinental flight to a faraway race in Laguna Seca, California. They've been running Trans Ams on the tight, treacherous Laguna Seca circuit since the beginning of the series. And here, a record comes into Tullius' sight. If he can win the next 2 races, here and in Mexico City, he'll tie the all-time record for consecutive Trans Am wins set by the late Mark Donahue in his Camaro during the 1968 season. To help ensure the manufacturer's title, a second XJ-S is entered in the capable hands of Brian Furstenau.
Well, Ingles has definitely cost himself some time. Ingles now back to 14 8/10 seconds on that spin. 14 8/10 of a second still. Second in Category 1 class, but a considerable drop. He had reeled Tullius in to within 4.5 seconds. Dropping back down to 14 seconds. Just about a 10-second loss in time. But Ingles in car number 80 spun it. I think Ingles was trying to catch Bob Tullius, the machine. The man who never seems to make a mistake in a race car. Tullius not always the fastest in that Group 44 Jaguar, but the checkered flag falls usually in the winner's circle. Very methodical, very precise, a very consistently fast driver. And of course we'll be watching for Bob Tullius, apparently the Category 1 winner here. Well, the crowd is gathering in victory circle and folks lining up along the Arco barrier on the pit road to catch a glimpse of that car as he comes up the hill and across the start-finish line.
He wins again at Laguna Seca, his 6th straight, setting the stage for a record-setting victory effort at Mexico City. Furstenau's 3rd-place finish in Category 1 puts Group 44 within a whisker of winning the manufacturer's championship.
You know, Bob, look at the house up there and the front porch, and it doesn't have a rocking chair on it yet, but you got to think about it. You've been around a while. Do you ever think or contemplate the day when you're going to have to pack it in and stop driving?
No, I never give that a thought, Brock. It has never occurred to me. I shouldn't say that in all honesty, because after having done it for 18 years, you think about someday, everybody retires someday, I suppose. But I don't think of it. This is a sport that is a mental study in mental concentration, much more so than it is physical. I think Janet Guthrie proved that. I think I'm going to race until I'm 60 years old because I have the mentality to do it. And I think I've learned to control my physical output to a point where I can be comfortable in a race car, and I don't think age is a factor.
The Group 44 victory in the final Trans Am of the season in Mexico City clinched the Manufacturers' Championship for Jaguar. And by winning the final 2 races of the season, Tullius tied Mark Donohue's 1968 record of 7 consecutive Trans Am victories. Tullius' second straight Trans Am championship brings Group 44 its 13th major Sports Car Club of America national championship.
They're 2 of a kind, 2 against the rest. They're working, driving, running hard, 'cause they're 2 of the best. They're some kind of team, that man and machine. They're 2 of a kind, 2 of a kind. They're some kind of racing team. They're some kind of racing man and machine. They're 2 of a kind. They're 2 of a kind.
2 of a kind. The Trans Am Champions has been brought to you by MG and Triumph Sports Cars and Quaker State Oil.